There's a 10X exercise I've coached a number of leadership teams on. We set a date by when will you 10X? And we figured out how when they've already gone 10X and the next one. And I tell the entrepreneur, the business owner, they get to speak last. And it is so fun because to a person, when they go around the room, guess who's got the shorter date, the sooner date? It's the team. The entrepreneur had a longer time frame. The team's like, oh no, I think we can do it in 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is. And the entrepreneur's like, so they're the ones getting pushed because the team doesn't have some of the probably emotional baggage that founders get. And they're like, yeah, got this.
Welcome to the Great Talent, Great Business Podcast, your go-to resource for building exceptional teams and thriving businesses. Each episode delivers actionable insights on harnessing offshore talent, integrating innovative technology, cultivating a vibrant company culture, and attracting and retaining top performers. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. For more resources, visit greattalentpodcast.com, where you can download this episode's free worksheet designed to help you apply today's insight to your business. And now, here's your host, Rob Levin.
Today, I'm joined by Shannon Waller, the entrepreneurial team strategist of the Strategic Coach and creator of the Entrepreneurial Team Program. Shannon helps business leaders build strong and aligned teams through the power of the unique ability. She's a coach, speaker, and author of the Team Success Handbook and the Multiplication by Subtraction book. She's also co-authored Superpowered and Unique Ability 2.0 Discovery. Okay. Shannon is also the host of the Team Success podcast and co-host of the Inside Strategic Coach podcast, which she does with Dan Sullivan, and happens to be one of my go-to podcasts that I listen to. Shannon, welcome to the show, and let's dive right in.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thanks. You've worked with Strategic Coach for a bit now, and I'm curious, how has your view on teamwork evolved over that time?
Oh my gosh, I can give Coach credit for all of my insights into teamwork. Although how people work in business has been my passion since I was 18. So I have always been very tuned. I took business, social, industrial psych. That was part of my degree. I'm actually one of the few people I know who's doing something relative to education, which is fun. So I always have been passionate about how people are in business. And I actually think business is one of the best places in the world for personal development as well as professional development, especially entrepreneurial companies, because there is no mediation between you and the world. The world gives you immediate feedback as to whether or not what you're doing is working or not. And by the way, just recently, it was my 34th year anniversary at Strategic Coach. I joined in 1991. So how it's really changed my thinking is, and I can 100% credit to Dana Babs for this, which is a unique ability teamwork. So unique ability is when you are doing not only what you're highly skilled at and other people say good things, it's not just your ego talking, but things that other people say you're great, but you have a passion for. Your eyes light up, you lean into it. But the interesting paradox about this, for you to be unique, you have to be surrounded by other people who are just as capable and just as talented and just as passionate in their area of expertise as you are in yours. That is the only way to get freed up. And that's what we call unique ability teamwork. So I wouldn't have that framework or frankly, the freedom to know that was even possible. I probably would have stopped at excellent teamwork because that's kind of the business corporate-y blah, blah. But actually there's a whole other level. And that's when you bring the heart in. That's when you bring passion. That's when you bring will, which the Kolbe profile measures brilliantly. I got a whole elevated perspective on what was possible. And I'm also very passionate about entrepreneurial teamwork as opposed to corporate teamwork. I am uniquely unsuited for a corporate environment. I need to know that what I'm doing makes a difference. I need that feedback as well. And for me, my straight through line has always been entrepreneurial teamwork. That's what I'm passionate about. That's who I care about. That's who I want to be a hero to. And that's, of course, the strategic coach world as well.
Got you. So since 1991, we're talking a little while here. That's when I started my professional career as well. Has anything changed? Obviously, technology has changed. I do feel that there has been some changes with the different generations in the workforce. Or on the other hand, are the basics and the basic principles of teamwork the same over that period of time?
People haven't changed all that much. Who we are, what we're motivated by, our skills hopefully have changed. Our ability to be intelligent has improved and increased. We have incredible AI tools now that we didn't have. But I think that's actually put a finer point on the need for people to not just show up physically, but also to show up mentally and emotionally at work, which is actually better suited to the current generation. 60 years ago, 50 years ago, it was like you have a job, a job. You do not expect personal life satisfaction from your job. You expect it to get paid and hopefully some job security to be able to raise your family. That was the expectation. We live in a more enlightened world, which puts a lot more pressure on businesses, but to provide meaningful work, satisfaction, creativity. I actually think entrepreneurial companies have always required that. So I think entrepreneurial companies have a massive advantage when it comes to that because we never had the luxury of doing it the other way. We're always making it up. We're always doing new things. We're always learning what works and what doesn't work. We're always growing and having to be creatively responsive to the changing environment. Now, has the pace accelerated? Yep, sure has. But I don't think that's really changed at all. And if we were to go back 20, 50, 100 years, 150 years and looked at what they weren't called entrepreneurial companies back then, but they were, we would see exactly the same characteristics. So I don't think people have changed. The means and the capabilities and the tools that we have available to us, that's changed dramatically. But who we are as humans, not so much.
Yeah, I definitely think that the younger generations in the workforce today, let's say the Gen Zs, maybe the millennials too, I think that they are definitely looking for more purpose at work.
Mhm.
I never considered the fact that entrepreneurial companies in general are so much more suited because many more of them are mission driven versus a large
Yeah.
corporation.
Yeah. The heart's still there. The
Yeah,
founder's probably
great
still
point.
there. Now, next gen, after that gets sold, it's bit of a different story.
Right.
I've heard good stories and horror stories at the same time. But absolutely, that mission is part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Coming back to unique ability, I love how you talked about not just the unique ability of the founder, but certainly of the leadership team and hopefully throughout the entire company. What's like a first step that a business owner, an entrepreneur can take in putting all of that together, making sure that, again, let's just start with the leadership team, just
Yeah.
for a starting point, that they are working within their unique ability?
Educate yourself would be number one. And there's two parts to that. There's educating yourself as to what is unique ability, what's the premise behind it, which is a good mental structure. But know thyself is rule number one for me. And so self-awareness. This means knowing yourself. And one of the things that I find it's really a strategy, it's a shortcut to be able to do this is to use psychometric profiles. And I've done dozens and dozens and dozens, everything from the one my favorite, my top four to which Avenger are you? Some of them are much more valid than others.
Right.
There, I would choose Black Widow any day. So it's really important to know who you are, how you are, and to have language around it. Yes, you're in the world, you've been, bumbling around for a while, but do we have language to be able to describe which situations suit us best, where we can make our biggest contribution, where we have no business doing anything because bad things will happen. And if you don't have that awareness, if you're still buying into probably what you were educated in, that if you just put enough brute force method into learning something and just using your brain, you'll be able to figure anything out. Turns out I actually don't think that's true. Or the amount of time and effort I would have to put into getting good at certain things is so not worth it. It's a very bad business decision. But if you are playing to my strengths and helping me learn in that area, it's a 10x return. It's a 1x barely return if and it might be a negative thing.
I always say, look, if that's the way you want to work, if you feel like you need to control everything, then that's okay. But you have to accept that you're putting a limitation on your growth.
100%. And I would ask if you're trying to control everything, it probably means you're not very much in control of yourself. Dan and I just had a conversation about this yesterday. You're trying to control the outside world because you feel out of control, which probably means you actually don't know yourself as well as it would
Great point.
serve you. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. When you're confident in yourself, you can handle kind of anything the world throws at you. We saw this with how resilient entrepreneurs have been over the last few years. So get to know yourself and use tools. Tools like Colby Profile, KOLBE.com. It's not a paid advertisement for them. Clifton Strengths is fabulous. Working Genius, my new fave, is really fun. 10 minutes, $25. Like, there's no reason not to do it. WorkingGenius.com. Print is another profile as part of Coach that we're hugely fond of that measures your deepest motivations, which is not predictable. It's very interesting. You think you know, and then you're like, did not know that. And it's great for conflict prevention. That's the other reason. So get to know yourself through those lenses. My daughter just had her two good friends. So my daughter's 22 and her friends are 19 and 22 or 3. And she just did that whole suite of profiles with both of them. right? And I cannot wait to have our coaching session next Wednesday night to talk them through where to lean in, where not to put themselves. They're starting their careers. And the same is true for entrepreneurs. I feel like I can give these 20 somethings an advantage early on. I love doing that. But if you're an adult already in business and a founder, then have language to describe how you're best suited. You probably have your own examples, Rob. I have mine too. It's like there's certain things where you can count on me and I will show up no matter what. There's other situations. Years ago, I was a cashier at a grocery store and you had to do inventory. Once a year, they give you a
Yep.
little counter. This is a long time ago.
Former accountant.
Yep. And it's like, well, if you want accurate inventory keeping from me, probably not a good idea.
Right.
I just get distracted, squirrel, there's something else. If you want me to sell something, I got you.
Right.
Put me in front of the customer. Don't make me count stuff. That's a dumb example, a simple example, but on a much larger scale, it makes sense. So get to know yourself is job one, and then get to know the other people around you and figure out, oh, what can I count on this person for no matter what? Like they can't go to sleep unless they check off their checklist.
Right.
Right?
What lights them up? Right. What gets them to a point where they're going to run through a brick wall for you?
Yes. And guess what? You don't have to motivate people then. You just have to give them direction.
Yeah.
Dan has this funny expression, I think it's Dan Sullivan, which is ride the horse in the direction it's already going, which is so fun. It's basically, yeah, let's go in this direction. And when you can do that, you harness the intrinsic energy that people have and passion and motivation and will and all the things. When you don't do that, oh my gosh, it is so much work. You're corralling, you're beating people about the head and neck. It feels like no one's doing what we want them to do. It takes a lot of management. Instead, if you can be surrounded by unique ability players, and the older I get, the more I insist on that. I really want to work with partners. If someone needs a huge amount of management, we probably shouldn't work together.
Yeah. I heard a great expression some time ago, which is you want, especially on your leadership team, you want people that are going to push you, not the other way around.
I love that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love leadership teams. There's a TEDx exercise I've coached a number of leadership teams on. We set a date by when will you 10x, and we figured out how when they've already gone 10x and the next one. And I tell the entrepreneur, the business owner, they get to speak last. And it is so fun because to a person, when they go around the room, guess who's got the shorter date, the sooner date? It's the team. The entrepreneur had a longer time frame. The team's like, oh no, I think we can do it in 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is. And the entrepreneur's like, so they're the ones getting pushed because the team doesn't have some of the probably emotional baggage that founders get. And they're like, yeah, got this. And then it's just let them go. Yes, there's guardrails and core values are essential for that. By the way, was on my agenda to talk about core values are how people can make decisions when you're not there.
Right.
And so that's why you want to have a really strong, clearly articulated, demonstrated examples, hire fire based on them, so that you don't have to do all the work. I hate it when I see entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, and even team leaders doing so much work because they haven't tapped into unique ability teamwork. They don't know their own. They think they should do it. They're filling a role, but they're completely out of touch with that incredible energy source that people have.
Yeah. And what I find is a lot of entrepreneurs are waiting for something to happen. I'll do it when. Yeah. And I think it's always backwards.
Totally.
Do whatever you need to do now. Let's say unique ability, start really empowering people now, and whatever you're wanting to happen, it'll happen a lot sooner. I see that also when they're waiting to hire an assistant. I'm waiting for this big deal to come in. Well, actually, if you get an assistant, you can do what you need to do to make that deal come in.
One of my favorite stories in the book that we wrote, it's called Superpowered. Highly recommend it. It will disabuse you of any notion of the fact that you are not worth having an assistant, because you 100% are, for exactly the reason. But Stephen Nooner, so Brian Casson and Stephen Nooner are my co-authors on that. And this was their idea. We did a fun podcast series and they're like, we'd like to write a book based on that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we did. But the team staged an intervention with Stephen, because he had supported and hired people to support all of his leadership. He was the bottleneck because he didn't have anyone supporting him. Literally, it was an intervention. They're like, dude, you are the bottleneck. And he's like, okay, I got it. And has never looked back. And now has a company that helps provide some of those services too. So anyway, it's just fun. We can be blind. It took so long for me to realize that I was worth. I used to share an assistant with 2 other people. And by the way, if you do that, you're causing the person supporting you to be kind of crazy, because all three people had very different personalities and they have to become a different person with each of them. There's names for that. Don't do that to another human. And don't have them in charge of marketing and you. Good Lord, you are a full time job. To your point, how much you'll be leveraged is amazing. And you'll find new creativity, new calmness, new confidence, ability to thoughtfulness to reach out to someone that you might not have had the courage to do before because you are freed up by that assistant. All the stuff your assistant is doing is mental energy you don't have to spend doing those activities.
Shannon, you're preaching to the choir between who, not how,
Right?
being in the coach program, a little bit of 10x is easier than 2x, and then the visionary concept from EOS. I'm a whole person, and our
Right?
company has been exploding, and I'm not doing any of the things, well, maybe not any, but I'm doing very little of the things outside
Yeah.
of my unique ability. It's been amazing in terms of the impact on the company
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah.
and how happy everybody else is that I'm not doing those things.
There's two really important things in what you just said, which is really fun. You're doing a lot fewer activities, but the ones you're doing are so much more strategic. And there's things that, frankly, only you can do. As a visionary, there's a credibility, especially in the world. I coach this every week on the weekly planning call. You're the front, you're the vision, you're the one providing direction, not only to your team, but to the world in terms of the value that you create. The more freed up and leveraged you are to do that, the better it is for everyone involved. The weird thing, though, for most people or business owners, is they're like, shouldn't I be doing more? They have this
Yeah.
picture, and this is the notion to get disabused of, that you should be doing more. You should be a manager. I remember coaching a lovely man who thought he had to be the CEO. He's had two CEO coaches, two, and it still wasn't going all that well.
Right.
And his leadership team was frustrated. He was frustrated. Turns out we had this conversation. He decided he was a chief experience architect. The two things he was brilliant at is leading the management leadership team to provide a brilliant experience for their clientele. End of story. The rest of the company is better run by other people. And when he got freed up to do that, all of a sudden, right? And you, same thing. Companies growing like crazy. And you're probably like, there's guilt.
And not only that, I wish I knew this 20 years ago, 20 something years ago when I started my first company. And I always used to think I'll muscle my way through it. And that is tiring. And that company many years ago was not that successful.
Yeah.
It's night and day.
This episode is brought to you by Work Better Now, your trusted partner for accessing high-performing talent from Latin America. Our clients say that partnering with Work Better Now has transformed their businesses by providing the proactive, reliable, and skilled professionals they need to thrive. For more resources to help your business grow, visit workbetternow.com/eguide. And if you're ready to build your dream team, head to workbetternow.com to schedule your consultation today. As a special thank you to great talent, great business listeners, we're offering $150 off your first 3 months. Just mention great talent during your consult.
I want to segue into delegation. So we talked about unique ability and unique ability of the team, but yet entrepreneurs can sometimes struggle with delegation. What are they doing wrong and what do they need to do to make it work?
Well, first of all, if you've ever been burned by trying to pass off something, and I wish I had my baton, I normally wave a baton around because I call it the unique ability relay. If you've ever passed the baton to someone and they dropped the sucker, you've got scar tissue.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm never trusting anyone again, especially if there was money involved or time or just embarrassment or any of those things. So one of the things, there's two rules in a relay race, right? Number one is make sure you've got the right person in the right place in the race. Okay, so that's unique ability teamwork. Don't put someone who shouldn't count inventory in charge of inventory. Bad idea. And then don't drop the baton. So make sure that you've got really, really good communication methodologies because we're, again, know your profiles and understand other people's. You're like, oh, other people don't think like me. One of our clients, brilliant quote, I laugh every time I say it. He goes, before I knew about Colby, I thought everyone was just like me, only not as good. And we all think that. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's why I just have to do it myself. So we become rugged individuals. So you need to have a good handoff. You need to make sure you're handing it off to the right person. And one of our key tools, which is available for free off our prospect site, is called the impact filter. And it helps you. You knew I was going to say that.
I was hoping you were.
Good. It helps you get clear on what the heck you want. Because we all know we've had this, what we think is this amazing idea. We go and share it with our team. And then they are off and running with it. And they come back to you 2 weeks later and like, here's where we're at with it. And you're like, that's a terrible idea. Why are you doing that? And they're like, oh God. So then they get burned too. Because you're just flinging, what does Dan say? Don't brainstorm in public.
Right. Well,
So this
yeah.
is allowing you to brainstorm for yourself. So it's the intellectual sale, purpose, importance, ideal outcome. It is the emotional sale, the best result if you're successful, the worst result if you don't do anything, the opportunity cost, or if it fails poorly. And then the success criteria for ensuring the best result and preventing the worst. And that's huge because you can think through an idea and you're like, this really won't make that much difference. Good, toss a sucker. That's why it's a filter. And only 10% of Dan's actually ever gets through to the team.
Right.
They were for his own purposes or they weren't that good an idea. And we have lots of ideas, so we need to filter them.
Yeah. And I love the baton concept there because I realized at one point, this is probably when I started coach, that I was a drive-by delegator.
Yes.
How painful that was. And I literally used to come up with maybe 3 ideas a day and just spit it out in front of everybody. And the impact filter is very, very useful. I now got a lot of members of the executive team here using it.
Oh, good. So I love that you said drive-by delegation. So that's a term we came up with in our team programs. The other one is the death grip. So you pass the baton to someone, but you don't let go. And I actually do this. And hopefully I've got someone sitting in a rolly chair and I'm like, take the baton. And they try and take it from me and I've got this death grip on it.
Right.
And I actually end up pulling them across the floor. So we don't actually let go. That's why the impact filter is so helpful because we can have one of those two responses. It gives us the checklist. And also there's another thing, let people know if this is just go and research something and come back with the information. That's a level 1 delegation.
Right.
Level 2 is please let me know at every interim step. Let me know at the designated intervals, could be time or accomplishments or milestones. Number 3 is please let me know when it's done. And level 4, which is true with anything for me to do with administration, is please just handle it, AKA, please God, make it go away. Here's the interesting thing. Anything to do with a client will never be a level 4. I always want to know what happens with the client. Now, something to do with paperwork or admin, not my unique ability.
Yeah.
Please God, anything you do with it will probably be better than what I would do.
Right.
So I'm very clear, but if I'm starting something new, I can work with someone for 25 years and it could be a level 1 because I don't know what I'm doing yet. And I don't want their nose out of joint because
it's something new. It's a new thing to
they're
the
like, I
organization.
should be a level 4. No, I don't know what the hell I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
Let's just go figure this out together.
Yeah.
So it works both ways, but that's another tool that we found, a communication tool to help people understand how to navigate those, because we're doing new scary stuff all the time. And sometimes we're not ready to jump off the cliff because we don't know if there's rocks below or if we have a parachute. We need partners who will think it through with us. And that's a way of setting people's expectations up.
Yeah.
There's one other communication thing that drives people crazy that gets in the way of delegation. And this is for the team, also sometimes for us, is open file syndrome. This is all the good stuff.
I haven't heard this one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So open file syndrome is when you've asked someone to do something and it went into the abyss and you have no idea what the hell happened. And I have a fun little cartoon drawn by my brilliant colleague, Hamish. And so my character is Bob. Bob's in the car, okay, driving, hands-free's not working. He wakes up at 3:00 in the morning. Whatever happened to that idea, that project, is in the shower in the morning, inappropriate place to call. Right? And find out finally, and this could be weeks later, whatever happened to the phone call, the project, the task. And they're like, oh, it's done. Hopefully.
Right.
Or, oh, you were serious about that is the other response. So open file syndrome takes up so much mental and emotional energy. It also happens with the team. We can be the one to forget to tell someone, oh, by the way, that's handled. But closing open files and having people realize it's a communication issue, not a trust issue, is massive. That's another, once you have the delegation levels, close open files and have the baton way of thinking, not the death grip and not the drive-by, it just works so much better.
With my assistant and I, because I hate that stuff taking up space in my mind, we have something very simple. It's called a pending list. Twice a week, he sends me a list. This is what we're still waiting on. And then I don't worry about it. And I can access it anytime if I am curious. And the other thing is I don't harass him every 10 minutes saying, hey, what's up with this?
Which keeps you from being a micromanager. Because if there's one thing that is annoying for capable people, it's being micromanaged. What do you call it again? The what list?
The pending list.
Pending. Okay, I heard pending.
Pending list. It's just a list.
Yeah.
And the status. That's it.
And the other cool thing about this, Rob, is that you've set it up to expect to have that conversation. It has nothing to do with trust, whether or not you trust him. If you didn't trust him, he wouldn't have the task or the list in the first
I don't
place.
want to annoy him.
You don't want to annoy him, but you want to set expectations of closing the open files. So, way to go. You figured it
Yeah.
out.
Thanks.
Love
For
that.
that. Shannon, you wrote a book which is very powerful that I want to talk about, which is multiplication by subtraction, which is really a
Have it here.
exhibit one. So where you suggest sometimes the best move is to let somebody go. This is something when I present, I talk a lot about how your C players, your non-core performers, they need to go. Tell us a little bit about this. Why is this necessary? How do you do it well?
Okay. The subtitle is How to Gracefully Let Go of Wrong Fit Team Members. And so let me just talk through briefly the graceful part of it. So, one of the things I learned from when I got my Colby certification was that there are three parts of the mind. There's the cognitive, IQ, mental horsepower, all the things, very important. I used to think everyone was the same, but I learned that's not actually true. And if you have fast brain, please hire people who also have fast brains. It won't drive you crazy. So that's one. The next is affective. This is personality. Which Avenger are you? All of the different profiles, DISC, Myers-Briggs, Clifton, Working Genius, all the things. That's all in the affective role. This is kind of like how you show up. And then how you strive and take action is the conative. Think Saturday Night Live, I have cone heads if you want to remember how to pronounce that. So conative is how you strive, how your mental energy plays out. And when people are not fit, EOS talks about right people, right seats. If someone's not a right fit for their role, you can try moving them around. In early days of coach, before we had all these profiles, the number of jobs that some people had was crazy. And we were small, so we could just do all sorts of things.
Right.
And then eventually, as we got bigger, we kind of like settled into our homes. So first of all, do the profiles, see what the role requires, see whether or not there's a misfit. Someone who could be an abject failure over here, I can tell you 10 places in the company right now where you would fire me in about a minute, right? And then where's the place where they might thrive if you have those conditions in your company? Then move them over there. Just
Right.
have that conversation about right fit, which is why having unique ability as part of the conversation is so helpful. You want to be able to do that. Now, if there is not a fit, and I want to tell you, I want to share what caused me to write this book. And it was me, it was actually because of wrong fit team leaders. And there's one client, his name's John. I won't tell you which John. But anyway, but I went to meet with them, had worked with his team over the years, loved it. He had this new guy, I'll say Fred. And so I'm talking to John, we're talking about this event that I'm doing. I lead on-site one-day workshops for leadership. And I talked to John after because we were having this conversation with him and Fred. And I'm like, John, doesn't buy into any of this. He's like, what are you talking about? He's going to be an owner. He's part of my succession plan. I'm like, he was not buying in. This was straight lip service. And I knew it after our first meeting. 2 years later, he calls me up and goes, Shannon, you were right. And I'm like, darn it. I hate that. I hate that for him.
Yeah. 2 years is a long time.
Right. And this guy took money, took clients, cost him a huge opportunity cost, and it was awful. And that happened 2 more times. I'm like, people. So one of the things I really identify, and this was the most fun to put together, page 34 and 35, is a list of behaviors of what happens when people are not showing up well and how whether or not to take action. And it's very enlightening because sometimes we are the last to know. There's a little chart of symptoms and the resulting cost, and it's really educational. And so it's fun, but some are easier than others. Someone who's been with you 3 months and it's not working out, it's not a big deal, right?
Right.
That's what probationary periods are for. Someone who is a legacy employee and has either mentally or physically aged out, but they're loyal and you're loyal, out of level of 5 difficulty, that's a 6.
Yeah.
A senior team leader who has a lot of responsibility that's going to come back to you or has the potential to damage your reputation, that's a level 5 out of 5. Or it's going to cost you a lot of money. Maybe that's a 6 out of 5, right? These are sometimes not easy things to figure out. But once you do, I had a client come back to me after reading this and he goes, Shannon, if I'd realized it's really only a 15-minute conversation to handle this, I would have done this so long ago. I was like, right. Please consult your lawyer for whatever area you're in. Be gracious, be generous, say nice things about people after they leave. Don't be mean, don't be petty. That's how to gracefully do it. Like just have a parting of the ways. Now, sometimes it's going to happen abruptly, sometimes it can take place over time, but having standards for how people show up in your company is critical, because if you tolerate someone who's not great, who's toxic, who exhibits poor behavior, who doesn't represent your core value, you get what you tolerate.
You are what you tolerate, and
You are.
everybody sees it. Everybody sees that. Everybody else in the company sees that.
And they'll say, what took you so long?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, I was the last to know. If you hear a whiff of something, if there's an inkling of it, start paying attention. Where there's smoke, there's fire on this puppy.
Yeah. Shannon, thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. And thank you for sharing all of these insights with us today. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for so long. It's just awesome having this discussion with you. Shannon, where can people find out more about you and Strategic Coach?
Okay, cool. If you want more specific entrepreneurial team stuff, yourteamsuccess.com has some downloads, including a great exercise called the Communication Builder, a positive focus, some other great resources. That would be one, yourteamsuccess.com. And then strategiccoach.com is perfect as well. And the podcasts are fun, Team Success and Inside Strategic Coach. I love interviewing Dan because he's as far as I'm concerned, one of the world's most practical philosophers. And for business people, it's like just keeps you straight and centered as to where you are your most effective. So I would highly recommend feeding yourself with that.
Dan's insights have not only made a big impact on me, but he's probably the world's best entrepreneurial coach, period, end of story. And I know a bunch.
And it's fun because some of them are in Strategic Coach.
Right.
or have been. So yeah, he is the coach's coach in some ways. And I was interviewing him for his next book, which is called Always More Ambitious. Dan's 81, which is kind of cool. And he dropped so much wisdom, which I put into my list to interview him on for the podcast. I'm like, dude, I feel so lucky. My first course in university was philosophy, and then I dropped it because it wasn't very practical. But now who am I hanging out with? This incredible thinker that is just so, in such simple, not complex, easy to understand, easy to implement ways will make you be the very best you possibly can, both as an entrepreneur and as a human being. So I love that I get to hang out with him as much as I do. It's really fun.
I'm jealous. Shannon, thanks, and we'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
Thanks for listening. The Great Talent, Great Business podcast is brought to you by Work Better Now. Don't forget to review, subscribe, and download the worksheet for this episode at the link below. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn at Great Talent, Great Business, or visit greattalentpodcast.com.